ओम योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. We have studied up to Sutra 41 from the first chapter called Samadhipat from Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Now to study Sutra 42 onwards, we have to go back to Sutra 17 to 20. Please open your Sutra 17 to 20 to get the continuity. Sutra 21 to 39 were like parenthetical clauses. So now the continuity is coming from Sutra 20. Sutra 17 to 20, and then we'll pick up 40 and 41 also, and then come to 42. So, Sutra 17 tells us, Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Asmita, Anugamat, Sampragyataha. Now this Sampragyata means self-conscious concentration. Now first is Vitarka, means concentration on gross objects as if asking questions about their real nature. So it is called Vitarka. This leads us to subtler perceptions, wherein we perceive the subtler elements which contribute to make the gross object. Then we concentrate on them to ask questions about their real nature. That is called Vichara Samadhi. This leads to cognize the instrument of perception, our own mind and buddhi. This we studied in Sutra 17, we are repeating here. We concentrate on that to get the feeling of joy, Ananda Samadhi. Why? Patanjali does not explain, but he perceives. Actually, it is because being nearer to our real nature, which is Satchidananda, therefore the joy has come. This leads us further to pursue our I consciousness, and that is called Asmita Samadhi. Anugamat means following their perception. This is Sampragyata Samadhi. Now, in Sutra 18, Virama Pratyaya Abhyasa Purva Sanskara Shesho Anya. Anya means some others. Not following this path, try directly to practice Abhyasa, Virama Pratyaya. That is the experience of Chitta Vritti Nirodh, which Patanjali has declared as the ultimate goal of yoga. But it leaves the sanskaras inside. And they don't reach the goal if they directly try. This leads to their becoming Videha, that is, gods are called Videha, or Prakriti Laya, identified with entire Prakriti, wherein they still experience Pratyaya of the transmigratory existence, Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakriti Layanam. So those who directly try for this, they reach such state, they do not reach mukti. The right path is told in the Sutra 20 is to faithfully, with Shraddha, proceed knowing that is Shraddha is, proceed knowing that Sampragyata will enable us to finally reach the real Sampragyata Vir. Then Virya, the capacity for dharana, or holding on to one object. Actually, power which comes from the right concentration of reality. And smriti is continued memory, that is actually dhyan, which follows dharana. Then samadhi, which is sampragyata, leading to pragya, mentioned in Sutra 48 as Ritambhara. Pragya is inner knowledge, Ritambara is filled with truth. Purvaka means through these steps, through all of them to Asampragyata, which is Asampragyata means not allowing the wave to rise. This has led us to 40. From here now we jump in between where the parenthetical crosses. So Ishvara Pranidhanadva, so many methods given to check the obstructions, and that has now led us to this. Somebody again is disturbing. So now this leads us to 40. What is 40? What he says, Paramanu Mahatvanto Asya Vashikara. That means removing all the obstructions. This Sampragyata Samadhi, which will lead to Asampragyata, this has allowed us the power to meditate on the smallest atom or on the biggest entity. And therefore, in the 41, Kshina Vrutter Avijatasya Maner Grahitu Grahana Grayeshu Tassa Tadanjanata Samapatti. That is, like a crystal, it clearly shows some object near it, becomes identified with that object. Similarly here, Grahitu is our mind, then Grahana, the experience, Grayeshu, the object of meditation. All these three are now clearly seen in that penetrative concentration. Now, from here, we come to our Sutra 42. Sutra 42 is, we have to be very careful now. Tatra Shabda Artha Jnana Vikalpaihi Sankirna Savitarka Samapatti. In Sutra 17, we are told about Vitarka. Now this Vitarka has two sides, Savitarka and Nirvitarka. So now he is splitting the Vitarka and explaining Savitarka and Nirvitarka. Now what is Savitarka? Shabda, Artha and Jnana. Now what is Shabda? Shabda is not only sound, but some external object we are perceiving. Maybe sound, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Maybe touch, maybe form, maybe taste, maybe smell. So any object which we are perceiving through any of these five organs. So what happens according to Patanjali? The outside object impinges upon our organs of perception. Some sound hits our eardrum. Some touch touches our skin, heat or cold, soft or hard. Some form, some color, some dimensions, they touch our eyelids. Some object of taste touches our tongue. Some objects of smell, they touch our nostrils. So this stimuli by the external objects is called by Patanjali as Shabda. Shabda is not only sound. The external stimuli presented by any of the organs is called Shabda by Patanjali. What happens next? The nerves inside, the sensory nerves inside, they are titillated. And so the nerves carry the sensations inside. The sensory nerves attached to these five organs of perception carry the sensations inside. I am describing as Patanjali has described. And then it reaches our mind. Then mind, what mind does? Mind coordinates everything. You see, if we see, what we can see? We say, I see the wall, I see you. That is not correct at all. I cannot see anything except color and length breadth dimension. So this is only I see. But I heard something, I touched something, I have some memory about it. So the mind coordinates all the experiences of the five senses. Then only we get a meaning out of it. So when I say, I saw you, I saw only some color and length breadth dimension. But I previously seen you. I know it is you. That is in my memory. Or I touch you. So all the sensory perceptions plus old memories, these are coordinated by our mind. Because mind has the memory function also. And then it gets some objective meaning. And then it presents to our buddhi. So all this process is called artha. Patanjali says Shabda, Artha and Jnana. So Shabda is the external stimuli, Artha is the sensory movement presented to the mind and coordinated by the mind. This is all called Artha. Then it presents it to Buddhi, the determining faculty. And Buddhi reacts on that. Our knowledge is nothing but the reaction of our Buddhi to the data presented by our senses through the sensory nerves. You understand? Shabda, Artha and Jnana. Jnana is only the reaction of our buddhi to the stimuli presented to the organs carried by the sensory nerves, given a meaning coordinatedly by mind. To this the buddhi reacts. And our knowledge is nothing but this reaction. Now the Shabda, Artha and Jnana, they are three separate things. Shabda, Artha, Jnana, Vikalpaihi. Vikalpa means they are three separate things. But one thing is that they happen very quickly, almost simultaneously. Second thing is our mind is too chanchal, too restless. So we confuse and we think we have perceived a thing. Actually, three things have happened. The object has struck our organ, the sensory nerves have brought the sensations presented to the mind, mind has coordinated, and buddhi has reacted. But these three things happen so quickly, and our mind being restless, we think it is only one. So, Sankirna. Patanjali is telling Shabda, Artha, Jnana, Vikalpaihi, Sankirna. That means though they are three different things, they become mixed up in our consciousness. That is called Savitarka Samadhi. That means we are concentrated, fully concentrated on some object. But this full concentration, Savitarka means we are asking a question, what is your real nature? Any object of our perception, we are fully concentrated and asking, what is your real nature? So at that point, the three things which are separate are getting mixed up. Now, the concentration becomes penetrative. The only method of knowledge by Patanjali is concentration. More concentration, more concentration. That is, the concentration becomes penetrative. It penetrates the outside form and presents inside what that gross object, what is going on. There are panchatanmatras, there are subtler elements, there are subtler vibrations that we start perceiving. So then it is called nirvitarka. Our question has been answered. That is now Patanjali's process. 17 it was hinted, 42 is being explained. That we penetrate, concentration enables us to penetrate the outside surface and we come to the inner perception. we perceive the subtler entities behind it. Either people call it vibration or these panchatanmatras, the subtler elements are perceived. Then we concentrate on the subtler elements. This is how the researchers are made in India, not hypothesis being built upon hypothesis. If we concentrate, we penetrate, then we concentrate further, we penetrate further. So in the next sutra, that is 43, Savitarka Samapatti. Samapatti means we achieve this. We achieve this penetration through our concentration. Then in 43, Smriti Parishuddhau, Swarupa Shunya Iva, Arthamatra Nirbhasa Nirvitarka. So, Vitarka in 17 has been split into Savitarka and Nirvitarka in 42 and 43. So, the Savitarka Samadhi means concentration, nothing more. So, penetrative concentration has enabled us to get the meaning. Smriti Parishuddha, Smriti is dhyana. Our meditation has become purer, or our mind has become purer. Parishuddha. Swarupa Shunya. Swarup is not what we usually call in Vedanta. Swarup is not real nature here. Swarupa, the outside form of a thing. Swarupa Shunyam Iva. That means the outside form vanishes from our perception and we see the inner thing. Artha Matra Nirbhasa. Artha we understand now. Shabda, Artha and Jnan. So, Artha means the inner sensory movement, the thing being carried to our mind coordinating, this we start perceiving. So, that is called Nirvitarka. Nirbhasa means it brings to our mind. It brings in our concentration appearance. Nirbhasa means appearance. What it brings to our mind? That this mind becomes purified, concentration is purified, concentration is more penetrative, and removing the outside figure, we reach the inside and we perceive the subtler things going on within, the sensory nerves bringing the senses. This is called Arthamatra Nirbhasa. That is 43. Then 44 says, Etaya eva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakyata. We have reached the sukshma vishaya now, and we are asking a question of the sukshma vishaya. So what in 17 was called as again somebody is disturbed. So in 17 what was called vichar, savichar. Now this vichar is split into savichar and nirvichar. That means of the subtle element which we are seeing, we are asking a question, that is savichar. What is your real nature? We have not yet reached the reality, but we have penetrated the gross and reached the subtle. And we are asking a question to that savichar, that subtler thing. So, he says in this way, by describing Savitarka and Nirvitarka, we already explained, he says, Savichar and Nirvichar. That means what happened with the gross objects is now happening with the subtler objects. We are asking questions of the subtler object, then it reveals its nature, we penetrate further, and we receive the answers of our question, we go still further. So this is Etaya eva, by this process of Savitarka and Nirvitarka, Savichara Nirvichara cha Sukshma Vishaya Vyakyata. So they are about the subtler objects and they have been explained. Now, here there is a little departure. We were there in 17, we were described Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda and Asmita. That means when we perceive our own mind, which is the instrument for perception or experiencing. So there is such a subtler state, such a penetrative state, that we are now experiencing our mind itself, and we are concentrating on the mind and buddhi, and that is giving joy, it was told there. Then we penetrate further, and I consciousness itself we can perceive, and we can concentrate on that I consciousness. That was called Asmita. But here now what they are doing, they are not mentioning Ananda and Asmita again, but in 44, 45, Sukshma Vishayatvam cha Alinga Paryevasanam. So, Sukshma may have categories, Sukshma may have more and more Sukshma, but all are included in the Sukshma. So, our mind and buddhi, then our eye consciousness, up to what it goes, Sukshma, Alinga Parivasana. Alinga means that which has no sign. That is Avyakta Prakriti. Unmanifested nature, Prakriti, is called Alinga. So we reach right up to that Prakriti. So Ananda and Asmita included in Savichar and Nirvichar now. Savichar is asking a question to the subtler entity, subtler, and more subtler, till we reach the Prakriti, Mool Prakriti, and we get the answers, so it becomes Nirvichara. That also, not only Ananda and Asmita, but we have reached the end. This is Samprajnata Samadhi. So Samprajnata Samadhi means through more and more penetrative concentration, we have reached the very Moola Prakriti itself. Then what happens? So here we understood that Ananda, Asmita have been included, and we have reached the Moola Prakriti. Now, in Sutra 46 it tells, Ta eva sabijaha samadhi. Ta means, all this you may calculate 8. Savichar, Nirvichar, then if Ananda has 2 parts or Asmita has 2 parts, so all this samadhi is described up till now, Sampragyata Samadhi. He calls their sabija. What is bija? Bija of transmigratory existence. Because it is Sampragyata, I am perceiving something, so that transmigratory existence has not gone. What has happened? Sanskaras have become subtler, but they are sanskaras. So everything has gone into a seed form, you may say. And that seed is not destroyed. So we have reached the ultimate end of Sampragyata Samadhi here. Self-conscious Samadhi. All the types of self-conscious Samadhi are Sabija. We want a Nirvija Samadhi. So, now what happens? Take up Nirvichar. Nirvichar of the ultimate, Nirvichar not only of the subtler objects, but Buddhi, Prakriti and all that. In the 47th Sutra, Nirvichara Vaisharadde. Nirvichara Vaisharadde. Visharada means pure. Nirvichar Samadhi has become purified. Nirvichar Samadhi has become perfected. Nirvichara Samadhi has expanded our vision tremendously. Then what happens? Adhyatma Prasada. Now Adhyatma here, Atma is not used in the sense in which we use as Nitya Atma. When Atma, of course, the term does not pertain to Patanjali, he calls it Purusha, but what we mean by Nitya Atma, that is not mentioned. Atma, when it does not mean Nitya Atma, always means our mind, our Antakaran. I will refer you something. We say Nitya Atma, and we always use the word Atma Vikas. So somebody asked me a question. When you are saying Nitya Atma, how do you say Atma Vikas? I said, I have not said, but I accept Atma Vikas. That is Antakarana Vikas. Swamiji has given a beautiful answer to this. What is happening in our spiritual progress? Evolution of nature and manifestation of soul. This is what Swamiji told us. The nature is evolving, manifesting the soul within more and more. So this is called Adhyatma Prasad. Adhyatma Prasad means, Prasad can be translated as tranquil, blissful state. I described one day. Or you may other said grace. We say God is gracious. Here they are not bringing in God, but our Antakaran has become so peaceful, so blissful that it has graced us. It is the grace of that Antakaran. So this is called Adhyatma Prasad. Concentration reached the full length, then it has given Nirvichara Samadhi, and Nirvichara Samadhi has given, when it reaches perfection, it has given Adhyatma Prasad. Now what happens? This is the Sutra 48 which you referred earlier. Rutam Bharat Tatra Pragya. Tatra means in that Adhyatma Prasad, in that state which is brought about by the concentration reaching its ultimate, so far as it goes, and then it has given a beautiful, tranquil, blissful state of the mind. There, all the knowledge comes. The prajna is inner knowledge. Ritambara, filled with truth. Ritambara, tatra prajna. In that state, the inner knowledge which comes is filled with truth. That means as nearer as possible to the true nature of things. This is prajna we have reached. Then what happens? Now he is describing this Ritambara prajna in Sutra 49. Shruta Anumana Pragyabhyam Anya Vishaya Vishesharthatvat. Now here, from the Vedantic point of view, we will differ with Patanjali. We have seen in Sutra 9 perhaps, what we have seen there? Sutra 7 itself. Sutra 7, Pratyaksha Anumana Agama Pramanani. Epistemology of yoga philosophy is very limited. He accepts only 3 pramanas. One day we described in great detail how 6 pramanas are working. And actually it was 7 because 6 praman were split into 2. Laukika Shabda Praman and Vedika Shabda Praman. Now Patanjali accepts only 3. Now Shruta means heard. Now here is Bhashyakara say Agama. That means which has come down to us from reliable persons. Now here let us discuss a Vedantic point, beautiful point. The Guru tells us, or the Shrutis tell us about some object of the world, it will produce an indirect knowledge in us, Parokshanya. But if the Rishi tells us, the Shruti tells us Tattvamasi, it tells us about our real nature, it has the capacity to produce direct aparoksha knowledge in us. It depends upon the listener. Now this heart has not come in Patanjali's picture up till now. There is a clear distinction between the mind and the heart. So I will describe here some people with a pure heart, Adhikari. And the Guru or the Shruti is telling him that I will give a bright example. Shankaracharya felt the need of going to the Guru. At the age of 8, the genius from Kaladi, he has known his Guru is in Omkareshwar near Narmada, without any means of communication in those days. He has travelled on foot, crossing hills and dales and rivers and forests, and reached Narmada. They said Narmada was in floods. He has crossed it And there some rishis are sitting, tapasvis, whose beard and jata have touched the earth. He is asking them, does Govindapad live here? They said, what this small boy will do with Govindapad? You see how much we have practiced. Our hairs are touching the earth. We have not yet seen Govindapad. But we know that he lives in this cave. That was enough for Shankara. He entered that cave. And when he reached, he saw Govindapad. He touched his feet. And Govindapad opened his eyes and said, Tattvamasi. Now, Tattvamasi Shankaracharya has read while studying Vedas. But as soon as his guru said Tattvamasi, it flashed in him. Why? He did not require even the Manana and Nididhasan because the mind was pure. Because it went right to the heart is the place where we experience. So, it went directly to the heart. There are many people. I have given the bright example of Shankar. But there are many people. When they hear something, how people hear? Some people hear by ear. One ear you may say, live by another ear. And some people generally, we hear by our buddhi. Always try to understand the logic and try to understand in that way. But there are some people who listen by their heart. And if the listening is by heart, it produces experience, direct experience. So, let me translate this Patanjali first. He says the Shruta Pragya, that means heard Prajna, whether from our teacher, from competent authorities, that gives some inner knowledge, but not that which is. So he believes more in our penetrative concentration. If by penetrative concentration we have reached the Adhyatma Prasad, then we get such inner knowledge which is not able to be the Shruta knowledge. That is what he says. Shruta knowledge does not give us that much inner perception or that much filled with truth which we get by our own concentration. Here I said we differ that if the mind is pure, we listen by our heart and it produces direct knowledge also. Shankar, you see, there are two schools in Shankar's thought. One is represented by his pet student, Padmapad. And Padmapad says all knowledge comes only by listening. If you are listening by pure heart, you get the knowledge then and there. Manan and Nididhasan we require. Why? Our thinking has been polluted by our life after life of Ajnana. To correct that, Manan is required. And there are deep sanskaras of bhoga. To remove those, we require Nididhasan. But knowledge comes by listening alone. Manan and Nididhasan remove the obstacles. Finally, knowledge comes by listening alone. So, this is one school under Shankar. The other school believes no, Dhyan is the only means of experience. Both have their support, let us not discuss that. But Shruta, if it is really done through heart, it becomes permanent. It becomes illumination. So here we differ from Patanjali. Patanjali says heard knowledge cannot give us that much inner or filled with truth knowledge as much as we get by our own penetrative concentration. Shruta Anuman. Anuman is always indirect. Anuman is always an indirect knowledge. We see smoke on the hill. We infer there is fire. An idea of fire has come in our mind. No perception of fire comes. So all the Anuman knowledge is always indirect. And now we analyze. Science analyzes, Sankhya analyzes. But Sankhya or Yoga, when they analyze, they perceive also. So only by Anuman when we get knowledge, it is not that much inner, it is not that much filled with truth, which our concentration has given us. Shruta Anumana Pragyabhyam. These two types of pragyas, inner knowledges, Anya Vishaya. This is totally different Vishayas. What Vishayas? The innermost mind, the innermost eye consciousness. These do not come under the purview of Shruta or Anumanya as per Patanjali. But by direct concentration, we have gone so deep that Vishesharthatvat. Artha, that means the inner meaning. Vishesha means special objects which are not available to Shruta and Anuman have been made available to us, and that is why this Prajna is called Ritambhara. That is the explanation of Ritambhara Prajna in Sutra 49. Shruta Anumana Pragyabhyam Anya Vishaya Vishesharthatvat. So, here one more thing. In Sutra 7, important thing, in Sutra 7 he had mentioned three sources of Praman. Pratyaksha, Anuman and Shruta, Agama. Now here why he has not mentioned Pratyaksha? Shruta and Agama, from that this knowledge is better. And this knowledge is Pratyaksha. Very important point Patanjali is telling here, very, very important point. Pratyaksha has become deeper. Pratyaksha has touched almost the reality. So Pratyaksha Praman has changed. Pratyaksha Praman has become deeper. Pratyaksha Praman has become penetrative. So he has not mentioned Pratyaksha, not that he has slipped here. It is deeper or more real, it is more near the nature of truth than Shruta or Anuman, but Pratyaksha itself. Now what do we call it? Patanjali is calling it still Pratyaksha. We call it Alaukika Pratyaksha. Alaukika Pratyaksha means, I am telling something now very important. The organs do not touch the object, but it is direct. More direct. I will give some example. Swami Vivekananda, while meditating, suddenly saw and heard people at great distance talking about something. He heard that talk, he saw the people. Now, because of his scientific nature of mind, believing in gross perception, he went to those places and found, yes, they were talking like that. Now, the Indriyas have not come in contact, but he has more than directly perceived. So, this is called Alaukika Pratyaksha. Now, because of Pratyaksha Praman, we feel the world is real. And how much Anuman we try. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, I am talking of Vedantic truth now. We are convinced intellectually this does not change our life mind. All the knowledge which we get is divided first into two categories, direct and indirect. Our Anuman, Upman, Arthapatti, all these are indirect. Or what we have heard from people is indirect. That has produced some idea in the mind. It cannot overrule our direct knowledge. And direct knowledge makes us feel the world is real. Then how this will go? When we get super direct knowledge in Samadhi or in deep meditation, that is called Alaukika Pratyaksha. And that has the capacity to remove this realism of the world. Ultimate is called Aparoksha Anubhava, non-indirect. And this has the capacity. Suppose we are perceiving our own real nature. We do not require eyes for that. If we are happy in the mind, we say eyes will not go there, eyes are not required. Now this is still inside our own Swarupa. To perceive our own Swarupa, we say that the Indriyas or mind cannot reach. They are not required at all. So when such knowledge comes, it removes the effect of our so-called pratyaksha. You follow? Pratyaksha cannot be negated by any indirect means, paro. But by superior pratyaksha or aparoksha, it can be removed. So that is one of the pratyaksha, as I called you, super pratyaksha. That is what Patanjali is describing here. We are directly seen, not indirectly. We are not inferred, no logic. We are directly seen the subtler element. We are directly seen our own mind. We are directly seen our own buddhi, our eye consciousness. We are directly seen the mool prakriti. So, pratyaksha itself has become super pratyaksha and it has transcended our ordinary pratyaksha. Except for the last aparoksha, Patanjali has described this. Now, Sutra 50. Tajja sanskaro anya sanskara pratibandhi. Now he has already told us to have repeated practice. Now when we have reached such penetrative vision, it has produced sanskar in us. Every perception produces sanskar. Our previous sanskaras, which were formed due to gross perception, are removed. The sanskaras born out of this penetrative perception, the sanskaras born out of this super pratyaksha are such powerful that they stop all the previous sanskaras. Anya sanskara pratibandhi. They stop them. They put a ban on them. So that is going nearer to what I described as Vedantic truth, that the super pratyaksha, the sanskaras produced by super pratyaksha, enable us to stop the sanskaras of the ordinary pratyaksha. Now, he told that if you go directly to asamprajnata, it leaves sanskaras. But now this method, if you go, it removes our gross sanskaras and what is left are the purest, subtlest sanskaras. Some people have described this as sattvika sanskaras. I would say the sanskaras produced by the innermost penetrative perception are strong enough. Now in real life, I will tell you, this truth perceived in Bhava Samadhi, truth perceived in direct perception of God is such strong that it removes our so-called pratyaksha of the world. Same thing is happening here. The super pratyaksha, sanskaras, it makes its own sanskaras and all the old sanskaras are obstructed. We do not allow them. So, tajja means born out of that super pratyaksha, that concept, penetrative concentration, or that Ritambara Prajna, that innermost knowledge filled with truth, sanskaras are produced by that also. And those sanskaras stop our ordinary sanskaras. Now, last sutra of the first chapter, 51. Tasyapi nirodho tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhat nirvija samadhi. Here Patanjali has not given any explanation. He is going from samprajna to asamprajnata now. Asamprajnata samadhi he calls nirvija. No bij is left. How? He says we have gained so much power of the mind now. So concentration is not yoga. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodh. But if we try for chitta vritti nirodh directly, we are misled. That he has already described in Sutra 19, 18 and 19. But after samprajnata samadhi, we have that much power now to stop all our sanskaras, to stop the rising of the wave. That is what Patanjali feels. And if you are able to stop all the waves, go back to Sutra 2, 3, Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. We doubt it. We say the Nirodha will leave a Nirodha Sanskar. The attempt at removing all sanskaras itself is a vritti. So that will leave its own sanskar. That will leave its own bija. How the final thing will come? By illumination. By illumination, only final thing will come. But okay, according to Patanjali, this is how we reach the Nirbija Samadhi. So he has described what he described in 7 into 20. He has now fully elaborated step by step, and he has now said this will lead you to Asampragyata Samadhi, which he believes is Nirbija. That is how you become free. This is the Samadhipat chapter. Here, theories mainly have been expounded, states have been explained, but not the process thereof. We do not start with so much concentration in the beginning that we go to Savitarka Samadhi. So how to start, from where to start, what to do, that he will tell in second chapter, mind you. First chapter is called Samadhipada. That means different states of concentration are described. And that result of those are described. But how to proceed, that sadhan path will come in the second chapter. So, any questions, please? Today, we are finishing the first chapter, mind you. And I have already told you, side by side, the Vedantic view of things. Believing in Patanjali, we can reach this state where we see our own real nature, we do not realize it. We see our real nature as reflected in a mirror, mind you. In our Chitta Vritti, we are perceiving our real nature. That we discussed on the very first day. But we are reached up to this. Theoretically, how to proceed will be tomorrow. Unless you have some questions to ask, let us conclude here.
Maharaj, there are some questions.
Yes.
So one from in the chat box. From the chat box, I'm asking. So one question from William Davis.
Yes.
So on Monday, in defining meditation, you stated, if I understood you correctly, that bhakti is one of the three aspects of meditation and inherent to it.
I described. Yes, what is the full question?
So does it follow from this that as one of the practices, meditation these will automatically increase bhakti?
Okay. So, I described real meditation. According to Vedanta, you may say, according to Bhakti also included. And that was, I said, Jnana first. Jnana includes Dharana, three things. Nature of God. God is transcendent immanent reality. God is one without a second. This we should be aware of. Then, some form in the beginning, I described that formless also is a form, unspecified form. So some form comes in the mind. And third is our relation with God. Relation need not be always this santan or this or that. Relation can be abstract. In the Gita 9th chapter, so many relations are described. I will give an example. God is my Adhar, is a relation. God is my support. God is my reality. God is my Atman. This is a relation. But unless it reflects upon me, you see, we have to change our own self. Today we believe, we feel, I am the Jiva. This has to go. So, in relation with God, only saying God is my mother will not do. If God is my mother, I am her child. So this relationship has to come. All these three I grouped in under this jnana, knowledge of God's real nature, knowledge of God's some form, and knowledge of my relation with God. Now, automatically he has given me bhakti. But what is bhakti? Bhakti is not simply worship. Bhakti is a pull. Bhakti is a force. As Patanjali is describing will as a force, here bhakti is a force. God is pulling me. If I am God's child, God is pulling me. If God is my reality, God is pulling me. If here itself I propose Maharaj is there, suppose we are able to finish this Patanjali Yoga Sutras, we will take up Naradi Bhakti Sutras afterwards, Maharaj. Anyway, so a pull. Bhakti is always defined as a pull. In Bengali, tan. Marathi people will understand, I say ode. Khichao in Hindi. So this pull is bhakti. And without this pull, no meditation. Now, jnana is there, pull is there. In spite of that, because of the old bhoga sanskaras, our mind runs here and there. Because they never practiced meditation up till now. There the point of will comes. So we use our will to bring the mind back from wherever it has gone. That also Shankaracharya will say through knowledge, that, oh, this is only a reflection. Some joy, some temptation is pulling me. But this object of temptation is only a reflection. The real pull is from inside only. So I cancel that outside pull by my will and take my mind back to my own reality. This I described as meditation. Okay? Satisfied?
Another question.
Yes.
This is from Narayan Rajesh Kumar. So according to Narayanan Rajesh Kumar, so the
Yes.
question is, according to Jnana Yoga, de-identification of mind and body from the consciousness is the fastest and easiest way to conquer the mind. More we apply the physical effort or by any yoga to control the mind,
I
it
know Narayan Rajesh Kumar, he has been my student. And if you are interested, there is a video, Rajesh Kumar asking me questions and I am answering in Rishikesh. You can put on that video. So Rajesh Kumar is a philosophy man. He believes more in Vedantic thought. And I already told you on the first day, if you have bhakti enough, you do not require Raja Yoga. If you have knowledge so strong, you do not require Raja Yoga. But we have to use our mind. And this science of the mind is what Patanjali has been telling. I have been repeatedly telling you, only I am separate from Prakriti will not do, Rajesh Kumar. Prakriti is unreal. Brahman or God alone is real. I am not separate from him. This Vedanta you have to apply. Prakriti is not only separate from me, Prakriti is nothing but God's Maya. Prakriti is unreal. And I am nothing but a part, not a part. I am nothing but identified with God. This full knowledge. So negation and illumination. What I see is not real. This is negation. But God himself has appeared as all this. That also you must know. God himself has appeared as me and as Prakriti. This full knowledge will help you without Patanjali Yoga. But because, I know I'm joking now, because I am taking a class, so you are listening. Welcome. But I know your nature, and if you can apply Vedanta in full, you do not require this Raja Yoga. Okay, Rajesh Kumar, any more question?
Sir, I got one question.
Yeah.
Normally it is very difficult to understand the concept of Ishvara as explained by Patanjali. Normally we have got an image of super God and all other things like Vithala, Ramakrishna. But
Yes.
in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Ishwar Pranidhanatva and the Klesha Karma Vipaka Paraprushta.
Yes.
See, can you little bit elaborate, because it is very difficult to understand and digest, please, sir.
You see, in common man or
Yeah.
an Indian, especially in a religiously oriented Indian man, this Ishvara has so much ingrained in us. It is very difficult for us to get any other idea. That I understand.
Yes.
But Patanjali is able to explain that. We have explained that day. We
Yeah.
are Purushas. First of all, he says we are all Purushas. If we accept your Ishvara, the Purushas do not remain separate. Purushas all become merged in that Ishvara. Ishvara is our own reality. Ishvara is the samashti of all the jivas. Then the jivas do not stand at all. But Patanjali accept that we are Purushas, innumerable Purushas. He has, I
Yes.
told you, he has seen Bhaktas being absorbed in Ishvara get samadhi. That he has seen. He has not practiced it. But seeing this, he thinks, what can be Ishvara? I told you that he believes that without Guru, knowledge will not come. Then how the first Guru got? How the first Guru got? So he has to accept a permanent Guru. And that necessitates him to differ slightly from Sankhya, who do not accept him. So he said there has to be a permanent Guru, but there cannot be anything other than Purushas like us. So he is a special type of Purusha. And he also knows that actually in Vedanta or in Bhakti Shastra, God is not affected by karma. God is not affected by karma phal. God is not affected by karma shaya. God has no klesha. So that he applies here to the special Purusha. He applies all the qualities known of God to Bhaktas or Vedanta, to the special Purusha we ascribe as God. He applies that here. And then he says, Kalena anavacheda purveshamapi guru. Now he says that I explained, Tasya vachaka pranava. If he understands the Om, full meaning of Om, on 2 days I have tried that. Then this question of Purusha Vishesha does not come. Om tells us that God is the reality. Everything else is only a sound. Only thing else is only an appearance. So what you say is true, but if you are trying to follow Patanjali, we can even omit that. I told it is a parenthetical clause. In Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is not necessary. We have connected now 17, 20 directly to 39, 40, 42. So in between, Ishvara Pranidhanatva, he has given as a broad textbook writer, he has tried to include all the minds. So when he has seen people doing like that, he has tried to describe it in his own way.
Okay.
Very good.
Sir, thank you. Dhanyavad.
Okay. So we conclude now.
There are some other questions,
Please tell
but
me.
next I'll share those questions with you.
Okay.
Maharaj.
Now you can tell me. Next time I will reply.
Okay, so one question is, what is the significance of Sunya in 43rd sloka?
45.
Sutras. But, yeah. That is one question, and by oil energy, and another question is Maharaj.
45
is Sukshma Vishayatam Chalanga Parivasanam.
Huh?
45 is a Sukshma Vishayatam Chalanga Parivasanam.
Yes, Alinga Parivasanam. What you want there?
The question is, what is the relevance of Shunya?
Shunya is not there. Sukshma.
Sukshma. Okay. I think the question is Sukshma. Okay.
Sukshma means not available to our physical senses. That is Sukshma.
Okay.
Not available to our normal Panchendriyas. That is called Sukshma. So,
Maharaj, I was asking about the 43rd sloka. Swarupa Shunya.
Pancha is Sukshma. Man is Sukshma. Prakriti is Sukshma. This is all Sukshma. Okay.
Okay.
Anything more? I think we stop now. Huh?
Okay.
Om yogena
Chittasya
malam sharirasya cha vaidhyakena yopa karotam pravaram पतञ्जलिं ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्। श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।